Utama renamed it Singapura, meaning Lion City in Sanskrit, after he spotted a lion on its shores. The lion's head represents the lion spotted by the legendary Sang Nila Utama, while its fishtail symbolizes Temasek and Singapore's humble beginnings as a fishing village. Measuring 8.6 meters high and weighing 70 tons, the Malayan sits on reclaimed land looking out to sea. She attracts millions of visitors a year who make the trip to Malayan Park to photograph this world-famous icon at her new home right here in scenic Marina Bay. Take a peek behind the Malayan and you'll see a baby Malayan. Believe it or not, the Asian Civilizations Museum is a treasure trove of history and culture that will introduce you to the world of Asian traditions. The museum features over 1,600 treasured artifacts in 4 themed geographical zones and includes a Singapore River gallery dedicated to the history and people of our beloved river. Be sure to check it out for an even more intimate picture of the things you've seen and learned on this river cruise. Over on the right bank, you may have noticed a fine fellow cast in blinding white plaster, Englishman Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, the founder of modern Singapore. The statue marks the spot where Sir Raffles, the sporter, first landed in Singapore in 1819. Back then, Singapore was only a sleepy little fishing village, but Raffles saw enormous potential due to her location along the main shipping route between India and China. After signing an agreement with Singapore's then ruler, Sultan Hussein of Johor, Raffles set about establishing a trading post and free port on the island for England's East India Company. He developed a town plan, drawing up residential, administrative and commercial districts along the riverbanks of this budding island city. The large building we're passing on the right was Singapore's first courthouse, after which it became Parliament House up till 1999, when the new Parliament House was developed just next to it. What is that strange disc hovering over Parliament House? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a UFO? Don't worry, what looked like something out of a sci-fi movie is actually part of the Supreme Court of Singapore. Now this is Elgin Bridge, named after the then Governor General of India, Lord Elgin. Fittingly, the bridge served as a link between the Indian merchants on the north side of the river and the quirky site to your right is Clarke Quay, named after Sir Andrew Clarke, second governor to Singapore. From the late 19th century, Clarke Quay was the bustling center of commerce for Singapore. Hundreds of tongkangs or riverboats jostled bow and stern for a place to dock and unload their cargoes, human or otherwise, from the great ships anchored at the harbor. Tons of goods and produce were stored at the godowns or warehouses by the river, which are those buildings you see along the river bank. One of the buildings here was Whampoa's Ice House, which belonged to Hung Ah Kay, a prominent businessman from Whampoa, China. Way before refrigerators existed, he noticed a demand for ice in our hot tropical weather and had blocks of ice hauled from frozen lakes in America all the way here to Singapore. Unfortunately, his ice venture failed because expenses were simply too high. But much respect to the imaginative Mr. Hu for his daring attempt to keep Singaporeans cool. Today, Singaporeans keep cool by sipping drinks al fresco by the river. As you can see, Clarke Quay has been transformed into a different but no less bustling port of call. Everyone flocks here for food, fun and riverside festivals. You may notice another bridge here. In the 60s, this bridge was a popular place for storytellers to gather and 讲古 or 说书, which means talking about the past or talking about books. Street hawkers, warehouse laborers and others from the largely Teochew Chinese community would gather here nightly to be entertained. The storyteller would start by getting a whole myriad of goods to be traded by the merchants who had set up shop in that row of buildings on the bank. Some of those goods included seafood, spices, and rubber. The precious cargo was shouldered across gangplanks by immigrant laborers known as coolies, whose blood, sweat, and tears formed the very backbone of our nation's rise to prosperity. Wonder why all the shophouses are concentrated on just one embankment of Boat Quay? Well, legend has it that the Chinese immigrants chose to set up home only on the south bank of the river. You'll notice how the riverbank curves just like the belly of a cock. In Chinese culture, this majestic fish is an auspicious symbol of good fortune and a great place to store wealth. These first immigrants believed that this part of the Singapore River was where prosperity and wealth could be found. That's also why many banks and businesses started up here and eventually developed this area into our current central business district. Where once boats lined the water's edge, today the banks of Boat Quay are lined with shophouses turned into restaurants and pubs. The facades of the Boat Quay shophouses have been retained, and their unique architectural styles give the district a distinct flavor. Notice how the shophouses are of varying heights? Long ago, this signaled the owner's wealth. In other words, the higher the building, the wealthier the owner. Perhaps these traditional beliefs have extended till today. Just take a look at the tall skyscrapers of Singapore's financial district towering over the Boat Quay shophouses. This is the perfect place for snapping pictures, so enjoy the 360-degree views and drink in Boat Quay's unique blend of traditional Asian values set against a modern and progressive backdrop. See how the shophouses form a charming contrast of Singapore's developing years against the skyline of a new Singapore. This truly is a uniquely Singapore sight. By the way, are you feeling hungry? Hawkers and their pushcarts used to line the riverbanks, selling local dishes that were cheap and delicious. A bowl of Teochew porridge cost only 10 cents. Better yet, side dishes were free of charge. Every day, the people who worked and lived at the river would eat at these pushcarts, sitting on little stools along the river banks. Perhaps that was how al fresco dining got its start in Singapore. Could pass, so look out and don't forget to duck as we cruise under the bridge. Just kidding. Coming up on the other side of Cabinet Bridge, you'll see a group of little boys jumping into the river. Don't worry about jumping in to save them. They're actually incredibly lifelike bronze sculptures showing a scene from the river's past, where children would stand and wave cheekily from their houses. Very often they would take off all their clothes and jump in for a cool afternoon swim. Standing tall and majestic is the exclusive Fullerton Hotel, which blends the elegance of old world charm with every modern convenience. Built in 1928, lots of paper pushing went on behind the hotel's splendid columns before its glamorous makeover. Its facade is a masterpiece of neoclassical grandeur, which belies its much stuffier original occupants, the Chamber of Commerce offices and the General Post Office, from which mail was transported along the Singapore River to and from ships. Since the 1950s, this was also the site of many political campaign rallies, but even longer before that, it was occupied by Fort Fullerton, built to defend the town at the mouth of the Singapore River. This promontory to your right used to be home to the merlion, Singapore's half-lion, half-fish icon. The merlion stood guard here at the river mouth for 30 years before it was hauled by barge to its new home in the bay in 2000.
Come through. 이거? 이거. 그리고
used to hang from the pier as a comforting guide to weary seafarers. Mindful of its rich historical past as a bustling trading post and gathering place for food lovers and entertainers, Clifford Pier has been carefully conserved and now serves as the lobby of the Fullerton Bay Hotel. And beside it is Customs House, a charming conservation building from the late 1960s, which began as the Customs Harbour Branch building, one of Singapore's earliest modern-style public buildings. As Singapore's shipping and trade boomed, it became the home of the Singapore Customs Police, tasked with watching over one of the world's busiest harbours. Further up, you'll see the magnificent Marina Bay Financial Centre, which sits on prime waterfront real estate at the heart of Singapore's new downtown